Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi, welcome. Thank you so much for being here to our webinar today, Opportunity Ahead, Donor Messaging and Fundraising. This is brought to you by the Florida Association of Museums. I want to thank our partners, the Florida Department of State, Division of Cultural Affairs, as well as Visit Florida. My name is Carmen Godwin. I'm the FAM Program Manager. I'm very happy to have you here today. This is a recorded webinar. If you have questions, we will have a discussion session at the end of the program, and we just ask that you raise your hand. And how you're going to do that is in your GoToWebinar control panel, you will see a section, it might say attendees, but there should be a section that has an ability with a little sign with a hand. And if you press that hand, then that means that I know that you have a question or something you like to say, and then I can unmute you and allow you to say that. You can also just type your question in the chat box if you feel more comfortable with that, and I'll make sure that it gets answered for you. Want to let you know we also have a poll during the program. When that comes up, I will let you know, and I'll give you some time to answer the question. This is just something that helps our speaker understand our audience a little bit better. In your GoToWebinar control panel, you'll also see a section that says handouts. And there are 4 handouts available to you. These are large PDF files. So we will need you to download them during the presentation. So if you're interested in any of these handouts, please go ahead and download them at some point during the presentation. The only one that we will be sending to you afterwards via email will be the notes section, which are Laura Bessinger-Morse's notes for this program. Finally, we will be sending you a survey out after the program. It will be short, 10 questions tops, and we're really just trying to find out what you thought about the program, how you heard about it, and then other programs that you'd like to see us host in the future. The programs that we have chosen for this year are specifically based on survey feedback that we've gotten from you in the past. So please fill out a survey for us. It's extremely helpful. And we'll also include in that email a recorded version of this webinar in case you miss anything. I'd like to welcome our speaker today. Laura Bessinger-Morse is the president of Sharp 11, which is a creative communications and strategy studio located in Palm Beach County, Florida. Laura has spoken at our conferences and always receives very high marks. We're extremely excited to have her here today. And I am going to just take a moment to pass over the control to her so that she can speak. Thank you so much.
Here we go. Thank you, Carmen, and a very welcome, big welcome from West Palm Beach, Florida today. I'm thrilled to be with you. I'm so excited to be with our museum community. If you're like me, we have missed being able to really support each other and gather, and particularly in this very challenging time around us, you know, be lifted up by each other and help each other through. So that is kind of how this webinar came together today. We will ask your patience. We're working on a new platform. And so as we move through it, we might need to take a moment and pause every now and then to make sure that we keep our quality as high as possible. But I do want to encourage participation at the end. But right now, again, I just want to say thank you. I'm thrilled to be here. You may also know me from last time I was at FAM, my partners with Dream Team. I want to mention them because they are part of the group that informed the work today, including really strong research guru around the nation, Sorrel Phillips, and my design partner, Cheryl Baldwin. I thank them very much. And again, thanking FAM for having me here. We've been longtime family members. Some of you might remember me back in the day from my museum leadership in the Panhandle area with our good friends at Historic Pensacola Village. I want to send them a lot of thoughts today as they are trying to recover from Hurricane Sally. So continuing our hellos, I'm just really thrilled that we've got so much terrific leadership in the group today. I'm excited to hear from you and learn what you're going through. My goal today is really to share a lot of the research trends and the developments that we're seeing as we're working with clients, mostly in the state of Florida, but around the nation as well. We're really trying to get our finger on what are some of the best practices, and they're honestly changing very quickly, but we do have some great observations that we can talk about related to our past work, particularly with donors and giving and what we're worried about with fall fundraising. And then what are some of those really terrific opportunities that we're seeing just blossom in front of us. At the end of the session, again, we're hoping it's going to be a chance to be interactive. If we have some problems there, we want to assure you that we want to be available to follow up in more of a meeting or Zoom type platform if that's what the group would wish. After you learn some things today, we don't want you to feel like you're on your own. So I am available. You will find my email, contact information in the notes that are going to be sent out following. That is an open invitation for you to please utilize my thoughts, bounce back feedback. I'm hoping you'll be able to really use some of the tips that we're offering you today. And so make the best of those, and don't hesitate or be shy to reach back out and ask for advice and help along the way. So here's what you can expect that we're going to be looking at and covering today in our time together. I'm going to take about an hour or so covering organizational and donor opportunity in light of what's going on related particularly to the situation that we find ourselves in from the pandemic. We're also going to have about a half hour or less looking at that checklist and some tips, some things that you can absolutely walk away with today, making very positive steps in your fall fundraising plan. And then with the time remaining, that's where hopefully we can share a little bit, maybe do some planning, idea exchange, but really just validate each other, hear each other, and support each other in that time as well. So here's where we're going to gather a poll. Again, give us a moment to work through this a little bit. I'm going to have to turn it back over to Carmen so that she can put the poll up in front of you and run that. Carmen?
Okay, yeah, you should see the poll right now on your screens. And the question is, of the following issues impacted by the pandemic and social awareness, which is causing you the most concern? So out of these, which are you most concerned about? First is budget, financial concerns, how to manage reopening or staying open successfully, keeping staff or programs in place, how to fundraise in the current climate, and addressing racial equity and social responsibility. And you probably are worrying about all of these things, but,
Yes.
but which one is the most concern right now to you? So I have quite a few of you who have already responded, and I'm just going to take 5 more seconds. So please respond.
I'm excited. This is the first one I've done like this. I can't wait to see how it works.
All right, I'm going to close the poll and right now. So if you haven't already, quickly put in your answer. All right, I'm closing the poll, and now I'm going to share out the results. So we have the highest concern is how to fundraise in the current climate, with 59% people who have that concern as their highest concern. Then budget and financial concerns, at 29%, and then keeping staff or programs in place at 12%.
Wow, that is great information. And let me tell you that you seem to be falling right in line with the other organizations, arts and cultural and other nonprofits out there who are experiencing the same worries. Our financial status and health right now is keeping us up at night and causing great concern. And so although I'm sad that this is the anxiety that we're experiencing, I'm hopeful and happy that I think what you're going to be presented with today is at least going to help you feel more centered about how to move forward this fall. So let's talk about these issues related to what we can be expecting and feeling and looking at as we move forward from what we're feeling related to fundraising budget and keeping our staffs together right now. So we're always going to get the bad news out of the way first, right? And but this is nothing that you as great leaders, executives, and fundraisers don't already know. And so the bad news is there's no magic bullet, and there never has been, despite all the pressure that we feel from board members and community and everybody else to create that magic bullet, raise those funds, and have everything available all the time. But everything certainly has changed. We don't need to say it. You know, we feel it. Anxiety is everywhere around us, and many of us are absolutely feeling like we're on the brink of survival. So pressure to perform and raise money in this unknown environment is particularly grueling, while our programs and budgets, we feel like they're just hemorrhaging, right? So there are 3 points that we've kind of put groups into, and when I say us, I'm talking about my team right now and what we're trying to study. And we're seeing the effects that the pandemic is having, you know, on the nonprofit crisis. That is that our first kind of group, if you're in education, health and human services, they're having to be delivered at a greater response than ever. And they are really overexhausting time, staff, and resources in a way they've never experienced before. If you think about a lot of our frontline people related to health and direct client services, they are feeling a squeeze that is really causing some great problems. Other causes, and mostly here we're talking about all of us in arts and culture right now. If you're reliant on any kind of visitation, performance, etc., you might have been totally placed at a standstill, or you might be in the place where you are having to totally contemplate what your future scenarios are going to be, or you're in transition and you are pivoting right now. If you didn't have a jump on any kind of virtual platforms that are allowing you to continue programs or offer visitor experiences that are online or either live produced virtually, then you are struggling to get there and needing some help. And then we're seeing that also this technology shift, though, another impact that is good in many ways is that we're opening new levels of accessibility and engagement related to virtual, existing in the virtual sphere. But yet a real problem for that is that we are really exposing the digital divide. And I know you all are aware of that in your communities and what it's like, but we're seeing that it's a much deeper crevasse than we perhaps really understood before. So we've got to fix that, right? It's another thing we're being forced to take a look at. So I want to present this question, though, because I know that we've all thought it, we've all read it. Is the coronavirus crisis a chance to reset the world? And one of the reasons why this whole discussion happened today is that many of us were feeling like The state of the world is giving us, agencies of change and leaders of arts and culture, which feeds the souls of our society. We're given this rare gift to transform how we're going to meet mission now. And it's the perfect time to refocus our efforts and our resources away from those old distractions that get us down and bog us down. And, that whole magic bullet thing we're supposed to be able to miraculously do. And we can embrace some new opportunities. And I invite all of us here today to absolutely be the leaders to make this happen. Because smart leaders caught on either extreme right now are putting their current strategy on pause. You may feel yourself doing this, and seizing that rare opportunity to think in spaces that were previously either unimaginable or unattainable. And that old term many of us have used, stop the world, I want to get off it. Unbelievably enough, this has happened for us. But if we approach it proactively, our global crisis is actually offering this rare gift to us so that we can return to our most vital and core mission, or we can change course entirely based on that mission and how we're going to interpret it and meet it. So 2 thoughts are absolutely clear in my mind. Don't be in a hurry to return to the way things were, where we were overwhelmed by unnecessary distraction and expense, unreasonable expectations that drained us of our time and energy. And instead, take this time not to necessarily seek stability, but to seek change, which sounds really scary right now, right? But you see that asterisk there. This is one of I attribute that statement to one of my favorite thought leaders in the field, which is Big Duck out of New York. I've got them mentioned later if you want to check them out. But imagine seeking entire change right now instead of how to stabilize what you knew before. So that's something you can explore a little bit with all of the ways that we're looking at change right now that we're just about to explore. My last thought here is that for those of you who have been in fundraising and development for a very long time, it hit me one day that what we've been fighting for ages and ages in our roles and often feeling very unsupported about is here. So again, I hope that you feel very empowered at the end of this session today to stand up for what you know needs to happen right now. And it took a crisis to get us here, but it's good news because there's a magic opportunity happening. And so right now, affirming your relevance during this crisis and beyond it is of tantamount importance. But here are the unique opportunities that you are afforded to do right now. That is to include and reach more people, build diversity, and diversify more audiences. You are going to be able to grow more human, close, and connected with those that you serve in your community. Show greater transparency and vulnerability with your supporters and the people who believe in you. This is the biggie. We'll unpack this a little bit more later, but it's also an opportunity to perhaps choose what programs need to stay or should go. You might be finding yourself forced to that position right now, and there are a couple ways we might be able to help with that. You can also conduct more personalized and compassionate business and stewardship. Use this change as a reason to reach out and connect or reconnect more with your believers. An opportunity to strengthen your storytelling, or if you've been too busy and you're the owner of many hats, this is your opportunity to actually maybe begin your storytelling in earnest. Also, moving deeply into mission-driven design to relay your clear purpose. I'll talk about what mission-driven design is bit later. Also, a great opportunity to forge formerly unanticipated partnerships, and some of these partnerships could actually look pretty radical. Also, it's a great time to learn from non-cultural arts nonprofits about how to create compelling reasons for support, because what we in the arts community don't often do is treat ourselves like a cause. I help non-cultural arts organizations do this all the time, is really focus in and talk about themselves as a cause. But arts, we tend to talk a lot about our mission and too much about ourselves and our programs, and not enough about what we're doing as a cause that people can get behind. So we're also going to spend a little time on that. So moving into how we're actually looking about our shifts and the way we're going to look at using or not using resources, or changing entirely how things are looking. The things that we invest in as organizations are definitely changing in this time. You've seen it. You've probably already had to reallocate certain items in your budget in order to just survive. And then you're also thinking of, okay, next budget year, what is that looking like? You know, will we be through this pandemic? Will we not? But what is going to be a lasting, perhaps hybrid way of doing things that actually we found out are successful and serving our communities on perhaps a new and higher level than ever before? So let's talk about a few of those shifts and what we're moving away from and what our organizations are investing our time and energy and cost into. So we're getting away from more office space, equipment, and building related costs. Now, of course, for our museums, you know, our institutions where our collections and our exhibitions live, that may not change so much, but the way your staff utilizes and comes into work and does other things may be. Also, we're going to move away from overscheduled, non-productive time in meetings, away from low return on investment public and fundraising events that really might not get us very far when we take a look at their success, turning away from frequent meeting and travel time and costs and conferences. I'm missing some of these, honestly. I know you are too. I'm sad we're not going to be gathering at FAM, you know, this month the way we always did. But some of this might actually help us in the long run make better decisions. We're also going to be moving away from being totally guest and visitor service related in the way we operate our museums into more of how are we going to be a hub of our communities and have that community service mindset, not just totally visitor based or having to, you know, make sure that our, you know, hotel stays and all of those other kinds of visitation aspects are completely driving who we are in our mission. And so we're going to be turning away from those things in general and more to using technology for teams and programs, collections, capacity building. I know a lot of our museums out there are starting to hop on Basecamp. Of course, we're Zoom to death already, but you see what video conferencing, webinar platforms are doing for us, how we're delivering programs through them, offering online tours, you know, online visits of our archives, and, you know, people being able to really spend time with in a curated collection like never before. We're also shifting to a brand and culture priority. This is about the absolute clarity of who you are and what you stand for. We're going to cover that today when we strengthen our messaging together. Also, audience research. This is going to be a big one we're talking about. That's client, donor, partner, and community data that's going to drive your direction so you feel really confident about what you know and how to respond to it with your message. We need to, this is a biggie, we've never done it before, but everything's shifting. You're gonna have to find ways to increase your marketing budget, staff, and programming. Good thing is, shaving off some of these other investment areas that maybe weren't working so much are going to boost your ability to put your message directly into an audience that you know how to speak to. Frequent communications are, a lot of you are doing a great job already, but now they really are going to have to focus on updates of progress, how people are accessing what you provide at your museums and cultural centers, and what the need of the community is and the way that they need to utilize you. We are going to have to be broadcasting that out at a higher level. And we're also turning to making our meetings more inspirational, connecting, and adding joy when we have a meeting. We're not just going to walk down the hall anymore and meet just to meet. We're working more from home. We are utilizing things in different ways, and we're learning how to be more proficient on our technology so that when we meet, it gets work done and we help each other at the same time. And again, shifting more to that community first service model and mindset, learning who we are as a museum and our place in the community and its leadership, right? So let's talk now how we're going to invest, what we're moving away from and toward related to the time we're investing about our own donors. This is not about their investment in you right now. This is about how we're investing in them. So we're going to move away from those time-consuming events that are just not yielding enough for us. We're going to move away from those micro fundraisers that really raise very little money, and for some of us, sometimes it's barely $500, and we know the effort we've put in just to feel like, wow, I wish we had been able to attain a higher fundraising goal here, because it just consumed a lot of time, took my staff away from other things to make that small amount happen. Also moving away from fundraisers that largely benefit other orgs and businesses. And I want to be careful how I say this, because I'm very happy and proud to have partners, as I'm sure you all are, that boost our abilities. Depending on how opportunities like the Great Give, Giving Tuesday work for you, you know, even down to that restaurant that wants to offer a discount for people to come in and eat. Well, sometimes it's actually benefiting them more than it is you. And although we're grateful for the awareness that can come along with it, if you're fundraising, you're fundraising. The point is that you need to help those dollars meet your budget. So we need to be more careful about what we choose to engage with related to those opportunities. So we're going to be shifting away from those and to more time spent in your donor CRMs, your donor management tools, and your research capability, because time in that might seem like it's not paying off as quickly, but it pays off bigger. And we all need to be able to advocate for us as development officers to be able to spend the time doing what works. And that's one of the tools that works. That deep donor cultivation and stewardship, along with time spent building that management system that gives you the reports, that gives you the data, that helps you make the connections, that give you the best edge to make the ask and have it be successful. We're also going to be doing more intimate donor gatherings when we can safely do so again. Less big, much more small, donor-led. You might have a great advocate on your board, or a volunteer who loves you, who's willing to invite a few people into their home and share your story and ask on your behalf to meet a goal. Again, those frequent communications, same things related to our donors. We're going to have to update them on the real progress that we need to make, the needs in our community, and how we are providing access to solutions for that need. And then we're also going to be building more funding task forces and coalitions around your mission. You know, it's funny that I think it took this crisis to be more of a wake-up call than ever for the people who even are already on board supporting us to say, okay, what have we got to do? What is it going to take? And so we're seeing more energy pop up around very specific task force to help us get through this very real crunch. So we're going to move on from that to also see how we are pivoting away. Gosh, that's the word we're using a lot, right? The whole pivot thing. How we are moving toward a more virtual event platform and into programming, everything on this platform. What does that forecast look like? So let's talk about our galas, big events for just a moment. Even small institutions typically have, some kind of gathering, annual event that is their big money maker. And we are feeling lost without them, depending on your fundraising mix. Sometimes your events might be on the top side. Those might be the things where you've found your greatest success so far. So it's really scary to think of how are we still going to raise that same amount of dollars with events. And we'll get to that. There are great ways that we see it happening out there. But, galas and events evolved into what they are for a reason. And they usually are around people coming together and enjoying and gathering over a great cause. There's usually food and drink involved and visiting with friends in the room. And over time, however, at least, Palm Beach County has a really interesting charitable season that doesn't necessarily operate, the way it does in the rest of the state. But for a lot of the organizations I work with here, they really see that so much of the event has become an inflated visitor experience as opposed to really, focusing or the heart of why they're gathering is still focused on the mission, right? So we have also an opportunity to really change how we bring people together around our events. We may see those come back again one day, but we are really predicting from everything we're seeing that folks are going to be very slow to recommit those resources and time and the expense to fundraise in that same way. So again, I think we're going to see some hybrids emerge out of this. But let's talk about some positive gains and best practices that are actually occurring right now coming out of virtual events. So this is a nice shift. You are able to really foster a very emotional human connection. For many people, that raises the question, well, being in the room together has its own atmosphere and ability to really reach down and move people, and I totally agree. But virtual is doing the same thing in a more controlled environment, actually. So you can achieve that. You can focus on that user guest experience, really being engaged with the mission and the stories, because that's the number one thing captivating them in the moment. There's not the other distraction in the room. So video storytelling is really going to become key. And you'll have a chance if you want to pre-record this entire experience, or you can run it live. But again, you have more of that control over mood and focus and the giving opportunities and how they're presented, instead of folks being distracted right at their table and chatting among each other, as often happens. You can offer interviews. You can take people on tours and offer access into spaces they normally can't go into with these events, as opposed to just being together in one room. You can offer real-time donation excitement just like you can in a room. You can run it even as a mini telethon, and people get the excitement of driving up a goal right in front of you. Event kits are a thing that is really exciting right now. Instead of all the expense that's going into, centerpieces, all that kind of thing, delivering an event kit that is totally mission-based is an exciting thing. And in that, that party pack, that mission box arrives, it establishes and creates some more excitement. Some of the best things I've seen from virtual events too is when groups are providing a 24-hour response right away. saying, we've already put your money into action, here's where it's going and what it's doing. And there's a huge sense of accomplishment. Whereas we normally are spending the next day, tearing down, breaking down, putting everything back in boxes. Now you have an opportunity to get to spend that time actually going right back to those donors in thanks and gratitude and how they are helping you. So I was starting to touch on it, but let's talk about quickly how those event budgets are going to shift, because we're moving away from event hall space, valet parking, catering, wine, alcohol, the rentals and furniture and decor, moving away from having to hire big entertainment, bands, photography, photo booths, and gimmicks. Some of these are actually starting to build online. You can do them yourself or get a virtual company to help you infuse some of those fun things right into your virtual event. We're moving away from auctions, prizes, gift and swag bags, and again, making what you send out more mission-based. Not worrying so much about celebrity appearances or MCs, having to pull together vast committees, having lots of meetings, overtaxing resources and exhausting our volunteers. And we're also able to move away from exclusionary high dollar tickets that are leaving some folks out. So what that moves us toward, again, this virtual event production and platform and the expense associated with that, which isn't cheap, but turns out for many organizations to be far less than what they were spending on their other events. It's also going to turn us toward more success measurement based on the virtual experience, whereas our success might have been only how much did we fundraise at this event, to now it's the ability to survey back out what that user experience was like as they engaged virtually, learn from it. What are we going to do better next time that might result in better fundraising? So there's going to be more success measurement involved. Video production and storytelling, again, maybe something we're not all used to, but it's going to be an important piece of this. And then the inclusive pricing can really boost your attendance. It's amazing, not a lot of virtual events have happened around us, even in Palm Beach County yet. But what we are hearing is that when people had to decide to do something very different or continue with the same event they had already had planned in the spring and just move it online, they were able to open up some ticket prices for the first time ever that they couldn't offer at that event. So they opened up some entries that allowed more people to attend, bring more awareness to people who might not have heard that message, and actually wound up raising more money, because even those smaller ticket priced attendees were actually giving, right? The ask rolls around, and those people wouldn't have been in the room before. So those are some good things that are happening. So when we're talking about even the priorities and the dynamics of those events, so how is that going to be happening in a different way? That, again, some pros and cons, but I think a lot of opportunity for us to make the most of. So some of us might have been frustrated when we're putting on these great mission-based events and showcasing the great work of our museums and cultural centers, and we feel like sometimes it's just the see and be seen thing, or we're having to be caught up in table arrangements, which can be political, right? And we have to even strategize about who's sitting where. Some of it's to make the most money, but some of it is also, well, this donor really wants this person next to them, and these invited community dignitaries, we need to make sure that they're by these people and so forth. And that takes a lot of time and energy. We also we need to be very creative, but we don't have to be as lavish about themes, decoration, entertainment, creating the party atmosphere, the visitor experience that can honestly often be based on their own self-importance and where they see themselves as a VIP, the recognition they're receiving, which can make us nervous, right? And have to work overtime to show not just gratitude, but the importance of the person who is giving to us. We can also shift away from the expensive formal wear and party attire and hope that they will put that money more into the event itself and the fundraising involved. And I really like that we're going to be able to stop looking at sponsors maybe as a list of who provided the wine or who paid for the parking tonight or who provided the centerpiece, and really start to see them as sponsors engaged and committed. You know who they are. You've had them with you sometimes for decades, and they show up year after year after year. And now you can tell their story of why they're involved with you, believe in you, and stay with you every year. So those shifts are going to be, again, to more mission focused, a less transactional feel for attendees, for those sponsors. Those guest event kits are going to be a tremendous thank you of gratitude that keeps, the reason why you're getting together first and foremost, working with those sponsors to showcase them and their humanity as opposed to just who they are as a business. And you have the opportunity, if you choose to do so, to make it more come as you are, casual fun, or still encourage people if they want to dress up and continue the traditions that you've had in your event, and or change it up and do something creative in how people might want to appear on the screen. Now, I want to talk about virtual event support, because the thing that has been striking fear in us is, okay, I might be able to wrap my mind around the fact that I have to move all of this in-person stuff onto a virtual platform, but I really have no idea how to administrate it, how to make it smooth, how to make it feel professional, and have our guests have a great experience when they decide to show up to yet another screened event. We've seen, I think, some of the best of this coming about. If you saw the Emmys, if you see what television is having to do to bring formerly in-person events online, they're doing creative things that absolutely you should steal, you should model, and so forth. But the actual running of that event is difficult. So I want to suggest somebody to you, and certainly do your research. These organizations, businesses are popping up everywhere, and they're doing amazing jobs of helping people run virtual events and getting onto online platforms. This is just an organization I know and I trust, so that's why I'm presenting them today, and they can be accessed from you anywhere. They're South Florida based, but they're virtual. So, they work and come to you wherever you are. The name of this company is Productive Power. You can visit them at productivepower.com. Reach out to my good friend Christina there. You see her email on screen, Christina Lambert at productivepower.com. You can tell her you heard about them from this webinar today. So let's talk about what you can expect in cost to get a team on board, and what you should ask and make sure that somebody is providing you should you choose to hire somebody to help you out with this. So an eventual event service is going to support you with your own custom tech team. They are like your behind the scenes production crew that is going to run everything for you to make it effortless. So they're going to handle all the tech setup and the show of real time, and they're going to assure smooth sequences between speakers and segment changes from video to live talk, or if it's all pre-recorded, however you decide to do it, they will run it and it will be completely smooth, including the time you take to do your fundraising ask. Meaning they'll adjust your video, they'll deal with your backgrounds, they'll take care of your music and your sound for both you, the presenter, and your audience. So everybody, like guests, if they have a question, they need to chat, they can't hear, they do something, your virtual support team is going to do that for you and take care of it. You don't need to worry about it. Including that, the mute button and chat features, all those types of things, keeping you worry free. And they will also make sure that your sponsors are recognized in a very nice way, where they're featured contributors. So they're aware with that. These folks work with nonprofit groups all the time. They're mission aware is what I'm saying. So they understand what you need to focus on for the evening. Other exclusive support features that they offer is speaker training, because it's very difficult and nerve-wracking for anybody to speak at any time, right? Whether it's live or now we're on virtual. And so they have, I probably need to go sit down with them for a while and learn all those best practices of how to engage people when you are the main speaker. Also, they are right there on event day from morning to night, offering executive and attendee support. So you're never alone on event day. My team and the people who work with me, we are getting the word out, trying to really research the community events that are going on so that we can start gathering this database of the way most groups are trying to get their virtual events launched, measure their experiences for both the participants and for the organization putting on the event. And we're hoping that we're going to be able to develop a list, an ongoing list of best practices so that we can help you all succeed with your goals. That's just something we want to do to help out. And we're offering that for free as we go on. So we might blog about it or send it out occasionally. So let's move on to the real important stuff. Now that we have taken a look at all the expectations, the forecasting, how things are shifting, a lot of that is not going to be new to you, because at this point in time, you've no doubt started undertaking some of this on your own. But how is this going to relate to our fundraising, right? What are our strategies going to be look like? That 60% of you today, that's the thing that's on your mind. How are we going to move forward with this? So I just want to say, based on everything we learned, let's keep that opportunity and positive focus in place, because there is no time like now. And I say that because for those of us who have not been able to use our development offices the way that we wish, because we wear the 10 hats, or we, by the size of our staff, of course, have had to pitch in and do many things. Running communications and helping other programs out, all of the things that we do in development, many times have kept us from being able to keep that clear focus and time spent on stewarding our donors. But we're at a point where certain things are no longer a luxury for us. And this is what I hope you feel empowered to take back and talk with your fellow leadership, to say these are the things we have to do if we want to feel confident moving forward and know that we're doing the right things and giving the right message to our donors. Here are going to be your first priorities. That is the time we've talked about spent in deep donor development and knowing our major donors particularly more intimately, doing that research, survey, and analysis on what our donors are thinking. So when you are doing it all yourself, this is a great time to shift priorities and have a great reason to do so, because nothing is going to allow us to shed all of the other unnecessary or take that other big step forward to do your main job. You know, this budget gutting pandemic has put it in front of us. So here are the things that are really going to help you, you know, stay on the course of deep donor development or get there. And it's that this current health crisis we're dealing with is the most important reason in the world for you to be able to pick up the phone and reach out and ask your donors how they're doing right now. This isn't about calling and making the fundraising ask. This is about the person to person, hey, I want to check on you. How's your family? I wanted to take a minute and tell you how we're doing over here at the museum and what we're taking on, what that's looking like, you know, and share a moment of time. I also want to tell you a little bit about the expectations you should have when you're reaching back out to donors, you know, whether, and again, some of you, if this hasn't been what you've been able to accomplish over time, and this is your first time doing it and it's a little scary, be aware of these things that your donors might bring back to you in this conversation. And that is that they're going to expect you to appreciate that their own situation might have changed. I remember having a conversation with a funder out of Chicago who was just telling me, you know, it was in the beginning of the pandemic, they've recovered somewhat, but she said, you know, we just lost $20 million overnight. And we have to rethink everything we can do this year, and the need that the organizations we support have just rose 500% as well. So the good news is a lot has recovered for our funders and donors, but a lot might not have. So just be aware that they have their very own worries going on as well. They also, for a short amount of time, and we all know this happens to our field, but we tend to be seen not as one of the most important areas to fund during a crisis. So you might need to understand that your donors are taking a break and moving some dollars around what they feel might be more urgent in the community related to issues caused by the virus. And are their dollars going to heal someone or keep kids safe or help kids get back into school, those kinds of things. They're also going to want some really honest feedback regarding where their support is going and if it's working. And I use the word, you'll see in the notes, I'm like, don't spin it. And I don't think when I say that, I know that we are not people who spin our news, but in development, we often have to take our time. We have to inform. We have to sometimes convince and compel people toward our mission. Right now, it's a lot more cut and dry. Donors are, they know that you're worried. They know you're coming up with solutions. They want to hear about them up front, and they want to know if it's something they can help with and if it's working or not. It's okay if it's not working. We need to be able to tell them, and we need to find what is working. They're going to want those frequent updates. The same thing with our grant and corporate funders. Many of us have been moving toward being able to have very honest, real conversations and dialogue about our partnerships and what they should be accomplishing. And we know the more that our corporations are embracing their social responsibility, they are choosing very clear paths of how to meet mission themselves and their corporations. So those that you're aligned with and have been supporting you because they focus on cultural arts, keep up those honest conversations, because you're really going to be talking about how you both together are meeting community need. Some of them right now might be shifting away slightly from arts and culture in order to hop on and meet more direct, urgent health crisis needs. But you will continue to be finding ways to make things work to the best of your ability. And I think that's an important, honest message right now, is that we are working very hard to do everything to the best of our ability, and we are willing to make changes, and we are willing to find out what our community needs and respond to it. So we're going to move right into this 3-point checklist of everything that you can do with your fall fundraising. So here are some of your answers. And again, this is on your notes. So don't feel like if you miss anything that you're not going to have it. But I would ask and hope that nothing else related to your plans right now is going to happen until you do the following that we're talking about. And if you do these 3 things, it's going to ensure you that you're informed about your donors, before you involve them in that campaign or virtual event and before you make your ask. So you're going to be probably more informed than you've been for a long time. And that's really important right now since so much has changed. But it takes some work. We're all used to this as development people, but really some emphasis on these 3 points. The first one is you're going to make that call that we talked about. You're going to make your list of your most important donors and check on them. Some are going to be major, some of them are going to be minor, but you know who your important donors are or who you think they might be. Just start there and make your personal calls. Again, this is to tell them that they matter to you. You've been thinking about them. Here's what we're doing in response to the community, and you're not going to ask them for anything except this. If I send a survey to you, would you please fill it out because what you think is important to us? Ask them if they'd mind filling out a survey. That's it on this call. Quick check-in, quick hello, have fun, you know, just reconnect in ways that you might not have been able to since we've all been running around worried, just trying to either get the doors back open or get the newsletter out. Also, you're going to run a survey. And it's not a hard survey. You can do it on SurveyMonkey. I even have the questions prepared for you. But here's what's important about after the call that you follow up with that survey. It's sometimes, and it's sad that too often our really intimate communication with donors is kind of rare outside of the time we're spending asking. So surveys actually are a great opportunity to bring our donors into that loop of important decision making and discussion. They feel more engaged and included and an important part of the tasks that are on your list and your way forward. So one of the resources, please make sure you download out of the chat thing. There are probably 10 to 12 articles I might have given you. One of them is particular about donor survey questions. And so although I absolutely stand behind how important this is and how appreciative your donors can be of being included, that you need to be bright, be brief, and be gone when you're conducting surveys because you're asking them for some time. You're kind of taking a deposit out of the bank, right? So you just need to make sure that you keep it simple and not require them to make long, tedious answers and so forth. So these are the questions that you can easily adopt for yourself. Leave some in, take some out, tweak according to your needs. If you're not sure, email me. I'll be happy to review them with you so that you feel good about what you want to send out. But here are some of the best examples that will set you on the path to get some good answers. Why do you give or have you given to our museum? Do you feel appreciated and engaged by our staff and programs? Ask them to rank by order the importance of our programs by a list. I want to pause on this one for just a moment. You may or may not want to have this one in here in your list, but I included it because for those of you who are unfortunately having to look at, do we need to get rid of some programs to make our budget work? How are we going to make that decision? You might have a lost leader you absolutely love that you feel is so central to your mission that you can't lose. And some of these are agonizing questions. If you choose to ask your donors to help you rank the importance of your programs as they perceive them and the good they're doing in the community, that might really help you make this hard decision because you're outside of your own thoughts and your staff's own thoughts, and you're really hearing how your community feels that the programs are making impact. So that could be a very useful tool for you if you choose to use it. The next question, if asked, would you give to support current funding priorities caused by the pandemic? You might want to have a staff retention fund that a donor is very happy to contribute to because you told them this is where we're suffering right now related to the pandemic. Will you support it? And would you attend or support a virtual event if we held one? That can help you make a decision on, do we want to even attempt a virtual event this year? Do we want to wait it out? You know, what are some of the best things? And then this is really important. After you take that survey, after you conduct the survey, always make the effort to take what you learned back to the group, right? How many times have you filled out a survey and you have no idea if anything you said meant anything at all or made a difference in the outcome that, you know, the person polling you was trying to make? So a good thing to do on your survey is when you're thanking them is to let them know that the survey results are going to be shared back with them. You can just send it right out in a newsletter. Hey, thank you. Here is the results of the poll our donors helped us with. And here's some of the decisions we're making related to that. Too often participants just don't get to see their input realized. And again, this is a great donor engagement tool. And it shows that you listened and that you're sharing their influence. So, and before I move on to the ask part, I did this webinar recently locally. I helped a group through this process. I'm willing to help you through it too. There's a little script I kind of put together for the phone call. And if you want to tweak your questions, I'll be happy to help you do it. So utilize me. I'm here just, that's free. That comes with this here. It's just out of wanting to see you succeed. One moment. So when you get to your ask this year, we all know what those traditionally are. You might be doing direct mail if that works for you. You might be doing a combination of direct mail, email, or just a total online campaign, or some kind of combination. Other people are doing old school. You know, after they've done certain things, they are doing phonathons and, you know, getting out there, getting volunteers and doing a phonathon kind of fundraiser. The point is, however you decide to put together your fundraising campaign, you will be probably more informed directly by your donors than you have been in a long time, which is, again, really crucial at where we are this fall. So let's move into how we're going to message this out, because that's really important too. There is a book I discovered that I would encourage you to put in your arsenal of information and leadership viewpoints. The book is called Raise Your Voice, A Cause Manifesto by Brian Soy. I have been in touch with him over the last couple of years because I happened to discover this book when I was moving into consulting, and I had already adopted Raise Your Voice as my tagline. And when I was looking into that, I discovered this book because it was the title. And it's as if so many of us and what we've learned over the years was taken down and written down for us. You know, those real gems of discovery that it might take you years to kind of see them manifest as you grow as a leader, as you learn more. And he wrote it all down for us. So it's a thing of beauty. It's also a great gift for your board members if you really want to ignite them into understanding how to champion your museum. But he has a quote that has become such a teaching tool for me, and that is, your cause truly becomes meaningful when your audience says it does and not a moment earlier. We have to get out of our heads related to what we think about ourselves and understand how we are perceived by our audiences. We are only what they think we are. And sometimes we don't know what they think we are. And we also need to get much more focused on who we're speaking to and much less focused on ourselves. So I have a 3-point checklist again for your fall messaging. It is also in the notes, so you can refer to it again later. But here are the things that, as you are considering your campaign, you need to do with your messaging at the same time. And the first thing is you're going to need to go through and evaluate your main messages and the majority of your collateral. Now, right now, we're not handing out things. Most of it is going to be digital format. But wherever your message is written down and however you deliver it, you need to review it to ensure that it is relevant to the concerns that are on everybody's mind, that it's mission driven. Ryan Soy talks a lot about mission driven design. And to kind of put it in a nutshell, that is where everything that you do related to how you communicate, it all supports each other from that research we talked about, those surveys and that research, to the words and your, what I call the written brand, and your visual brand, the way you design and support and present your message to the community. You're also going to check to make sure that it is much more donor-centric and that you put that power and that message and that action in their hands. So you want to start saying more yous than we's. I think our field has been catching on to this for many years now and doing a much, much better job of making sure that you mention them, not you. That's what our big workshop was about with FAM last year, and it was a blast. So if you feel like you're not good at that, it's worth a little bit of your, budget to have a professional review this with you and get you where you feel you need to be. You need to improve that message again by, if you don't have a highly skilled writer on your staff, one of those priorities again is to find one, at least for your most important message creation. And not just any copywriter. You hopefully can find one that is very skilled in working with causes and arts and culture and can understand you and speak as if they are you, because that's what they need to do to write well for you. And then invest in these things by developing your brand's compelling purpose, clarity, and strength, not just for the short term, but for the long term. Again, you are what they think you are. So if you are in the position where you feel it is time to really transform the way you're speaking to your audiences, again, with all of the noise, confusion, change in the atmosphere, this is why I'm saying your communications and your message are of paramount importance, like never before. So shift what you might have been spending on bigger events. Many of you have canceled them just to keep the doors open, but if you have extra dollars that were budgeted that you can move, put them in development and communications. So we're going to actually give you some real tools to help you get started on your own as you're in this improvement process. And how do you get better messaging in just a moment by the time we hop off this whole thing today? So we've put together the gospel of a really strong message, and it's in your notes, just some simple bullets I want to share with you. What makes you different makes you desirable. Appeal to the one donor, not the 100 donors, and speak directly to that donor. No jargon, talk like a real person. If you want me to check your stuff and see if it's too jargony, email some samples to me. I'll let you know. Be human. Ask yourselves in your correspondence, in your communications, are you being vulnerable? Are you relatable? Are you likable? Tell a great story. Storytelling has been a focus for a couple of decades now, really, really growing. And there are terrific examples out there like StoryCorps, just amazing projects that have happened around the nation. But I found something very interesting one day, and that was when I was doing a little research. There's some science behind why storytelling works. And we as development people love the psychology behind why people join and they give, right? There's a little bit of magic that happens when you say the words, "Let me tell you a story." They measured responses in people and what happens. And we actually settle back and relax. We let other thoughts drift away, and we prepare ourselves to receive something really wonderful, because stories are relatable. So not only do we expect to go on a little bit of a journey and learn something new and broaden our horizons, but we expect to feel something from hearing that story. So again, it's still one of our top things that, learn how to tell a great story. Successful brands connect the community to your cause, not to your organization. Donors want to support and engage with people, not programs. Again, there's a psychology behind it. And people respond to the plight of one, not many. And most of us have learned that if we are presenting the need of 1,000 people, donors, people, anybody wanting to help, we can feel overwhelmed, right? How does my contribution help in any way? When we see the need represented in one person, we instantly connect with that face, we connect with that human being, and we say, I can help them, and I can help them right now. So it's a much stronger way to present your goals and what you need to fulfill in your fundraising. Successful brands make emotional connections because individuals make emotional decisions. Again, it's the psychology behind it. Now, we know those donors and people out there who will hop on GuideStar. They're going to look at everything about you. They're going to check out your 990s. They are going to want to be sure that their investment is safe. And of course, you always want people to be very confident that you are excellent stewards of the funds that they give you. But ultimately, the psychology behind why people give is because they care. It makes them feel good about who they are, and it connects them to something that reflects on who they are, who they want to be, and how they want to perceive. So don't ignore that there is a little bit of self-serving that idea behind why people give. Think about the own brands that you like, maybe the kitchen appliances you chose, the car you drive, the clothes you like to wear. You choose those and have an affinity for them because you feel like it represents something about who you are. You connect with it, and therefore it shows something about you and your choices and who you are. So again, to put this simply, it's not about you, it's about them. Your messaging is going to focus on the donor and your supporters. It's not about your institution or your staff and everything you did in your impact report. It's how your donors accomplished everything that's in your impact report. It's also about how your work moves people, and if you represent something they want to see in themselves. Okay, I know this is going on for a while, but we're now at a time where we're going to try to open up and do a little bit of talking. So I can take a breather. And again, we're going to try this out. I would love to hear from some of you either in chat or Carmen is going to try, and also if you raise your hand, she's going to tell you how to do this. But I'm going to ask a question first, Carmen.
Okay.
The first one is going to be, have any of you completely just done away with events for the entire year and just axed them, not doing anything?
Do you want people to raise their hand and have a talk with you about that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they can share. They can share if they just like canceled all their events this year. I want to hear about that and how it's affecting people and what they're doing.
Okay. In your control panel, there's a little hand that's waving. And so if you'll press that, then I can unmute you so that you can talk. I do have someone who's has their hand raised, but I think they might have raised it early on accident. Hilda Massip, I'm just going to unmute you. And if you'd like to talk, fine. If not, that's okay too.
Is there anybody willing to share if you haven't canceled all of your events? The next question would be, are you moving forward with events, and how have you decided to do that? And could you share your ideas?
All right. Phyllis Davis, she's on a phone call and I'm going to unmute her right now. Phyllis?
Hi, good morning. It's funny you asked this. We just came up with a plan this week. We have our holiday home tour the first weekend in December. This would be our, I can't remember if it's 15th or 16th home tour. And we've been worried about it because it's our largest fundraiser of the year. We generally clear somewhere around $50,000 from it. So for a small museum, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
What we have come up with, we're going to schedule appointments basically. So we'll rotate people through the house in groups of 5. We have spoken with our volunteer IT guy, and there's a scheduling system we can use. So people can purchase tickets for the homes they want to see. And then we just take 5 people in. All of these homes are 2-story. So we'll bring 5 people in, take them upstairs. They'll have a lot of amount of time to see the upstairs. Then they go downstairs and the second group comes in. And so group 1 is seeing downstairs, group 2 is seeing upstairs. Group 1 rotates out the back or side door. Group 2 goes downstairs and group 3 comes up. So no one's crossing paths. Because we do it on individual, people can then schedule, a time for them to take their lunch. They can do a couple of homes. It's a 2-day event. So they could do a couple of homes on Friday and a couple of homes on Saturday. We have 5 homes total. So we're not sure how it's going to work, but that's what we're going for it.
I love it, Phyllis. I think it sounds amazing, and I really hope you get great response, because obviously you've been very thorough about thinking about everybody's safety and putting them at ease, and them knowing they can come and enjoy something and still feel like they're not at risk. I love it and wish you every success. There is, to piggyback on that idea, for some people, if you have performing arts, I don't know if anybody with us today has a dance company or something similar. Singing is still really questionable, but if you have a chance, go to the dreamteam.com website, and we've added in our blogs called The Silver Lining, and we showcased a dance company in the South that made this incredible partnership right now, because racial equity is so important and is such a big discussion. The owner of a plantation home wanted to support a local African-American dance company and do a fundraiser as well. And they did it with your concept, Phyllis. They took each room and did rotation. And actually, because the house was empty, though, it wasn't like full of collections, it was very sparsely furnished. They were able to have a different live short performance in each room, and they built on each other, but very small crowd, and rotated around the house and out. And it was very successful for them. So I love this idea. Great, good luck with it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Does anybody else have any ideas, or let's open up some questions. Let's help each other, because I put out so much information that is really hard to absorb. And I would just love some time for sharing, even if it's you know, if you want to share other challenges, like, are you feeling supported by your boards right now? Is there enough engagement? You know, have you lost a lot of event revenue? Are memberships declining? Let's talk about any of that that somebody wants to share or get advice from your peers.
Yes, so we saved this time for you to be able to really just have a conversation. So please just raise your hand or type a question in the chat box. If you raise your hand, I'll unmute you so that you can have a conversation. Okay, we've got a couple people. So Greg Young, I'm going to unmute you now. Greg, go ahead. Actually, you have to press the microphone button on your end. There you go. All right, go ahead, Greg.
Thank you so much. Laura, thanks for the presentation. I'm new at this game. I'm current president of a local history museum, so I'm learned a lot today. Thank you. My question is regarding how do we get membership to convert over into donorship?
Yes. You know, a lot of folks right now are restructuring how they work with members and donors. And I think the whole issue that I've become to understand, Greg, is what is the transaction based on? And often our memberships are related to some wonderful amenities, right? Because we want people coming and engaging and visiting, bringing visitors, etc. And the membership dollars they provide, of course, help create programs and keep programs running. What the shift of messaging helps you do to bring donors out of membership, or either if you're keeping a membership program intact, to bring them to a higher level of a donor, is what we talked about when I said you've got to talk about yourselves as a cause. Membership tends to highlight programs, right? And a donor is already thinking, okay, by being a member, my $60 a year is doing a lot. You know, it's this program and these visitors and all this great stuff. What they also might not realize, though, is that your cause in your historic museum is related to telling the story of your community. It's related to furthering the economy in your community. It's recognizing voices and cultures and people who might not have a voice somewhere else. It's preserving collections and artifacts of the very first people there. So there are many, many things, and Americans for the Arts, I think, ooh, I'm gonna write this down. There is an excellent point sheet of the importance of cultural arts. And so I'm gonna get that. Pardon me just a minute. I just thought of that. This can be a great list for you to utilize if you're not comfortable or used to talking about your museum as being important as a cause. And you can relook at your mission as well in light of it being a cause. Now, it takes time, but the more intimate, like if you're getting to know your donors, talk with them and say, hey, you know, I'm really trying to raise the awareness of who we are and why we're so important in the community, and that it's going to take more than membership. It takes people getting behind, joining this cause, getting behind it, and funding this cause. So I would be happy to talk with you more, Greg, but that is my short answer, is that membership has more of a transactional purpose and donorship is more cause related. So I hope that makes a little bit of sense at this point.
Certainly. Thank you so much.
You are most welcome.
Thank you, Greg. Jeff Rusnak, I hope I pronounced that correctly. I'm going to unmute you now, and then you can go ahead, Jeff.
Okay, hi, thank you. If you hear some noise in the background, we're doing a learning pod in the community gallery right next to my office. We have 9 K-5 students whose parents needed a place for their kids to go to virtual school. So
love it.
That's what, if you hear a recorder playing in the background, we have a student who keeps himself busy with that. anyway, I think we hit a lot of the targets we're finding at the Art and Culture Center of Hollywood, where I am, in terms of where we're communicating, and we've gotten great responses from donors that way. The area where we're going to struggle with, I think we're a lot of organizations, is in the area of earned income, where it is dependent on having people come to your space. So
Right.
we opened our galleries actually when the state went to phase 2 back in June. And then we had the spike of the summer and virtually nobody showed up. People seem a little more confident now. We had 60 people for a free day on Sunday. I think the challenge we're going to face is how do we translate what people are willing to pay for to be in a social space, in a group setting, to what's the value of being in an isolated virtual setting where the experience is going to be completely different. And I think that's going to be a reality that's going to be hard to grapple with, and that's the one I think we're facing right now.
You know, Jeff, you're absolutely right, and that is, I think you're describing where so many of the organizations you have talked with me are right now. And because so much of this is individualized between community and the organization, you know, there aren't any clear answers right now. We're like, one of the things I'm doing is just trying to poll what is working for some people and see, are there similar situations that peers can share and help each other out on. Did you happen to be able to get one of the PPE loans, and did it help you?
Yes, we did, and it allowed us to stay fully staffed. We have the only staff positions that we've had a little reduction on is we manage a theater that's on a public school property. But we manage the site. We do rentals to a lot of community organizations on that site in addition to our own programming. We have not been able to do any programming there. So we're just at this sort of dividing line of winning confidence from people back, and then also just for the safety of our own staff. But we have been able to through the PPP loan and through our funders, we've been able to keep everybody fully on full-time or part-time, whatever their pay was. We did take about a 4-week reduction down to an 80% schedule, but we're able to resume right back. So we've been really fortunate. We're projecting out right now to be fully staffed into the next fiscal calendar. And then it will be a determination on, to the extent we can raise money through earned income activity, as to how staffing will be affected.
About how much of your earned revenue makes up your budget?
Cash, I would say probably about 35% or so. We do a summer camp.
Yeah.
That, you know, in a given year we'll do $125,000 or $130,000, and then this year, you know, it was a quarter of that really, and we did very small groups, socially distanced, did it all. Nobody got sick, including staff. So we're handling all the protocols. What we've learned, and we have been back on site, is what we've learned is the masks work, social distancing works. These protocols that we've been asked to adhere to are effective. So we've been, you know, really pleased that we've been able to live somewhat in a normalcy of our workday and not have to give everything up. And I'm starting to see our museums migrate back to being on site. And I think if you follow pretty strictly the guidelines, you have a pretty good shot of kind of moving through this in a way that helps you kind of build back equity with your community.
I think you're speaking truth to that, Jeff. You know, people are weary of not being able to, you know, enjoy activity, enjoy being together. And what we're experiencing, you know, you're not too far away from me, but I think you might agree that we are seeing people venture out when they feel safe to do so. We still have some problems, but I think we're moving in that direction. Jeff, how do you feel like conducting the survey I mentioned would would help you kind of decide how to approach your donors on your next ask for the specific areas of need, since you're worried about, earned income.
We've already been submitting to several family foundations. We had some programmatic grants approved already, and we're moving forward on our gallery programming with that. The way we have basically articulated our condition at this point is that we need to support this existing staff that we have. And without the staff in place, we can't deliver the programs that impact mission.
Yes.
So we've been very direct, very clear that the people that work at the Art and Culture Center are the Art and Culture Center. And if we lose a position, we lose capacity to deliver.
Right.
And, I think you hit on a little earlier, be honest, be transparent, tell people what's really going on. And I have found as a grant writer that when you reveal a little bit about yourself that isn't only the happy bright spot, we all want to promote the best, but sometimes just being clear about your situation. And our situation is we want to keep staff because we have an education department with 3 people. What we're doing is we're shifting what normally would have been hiring an instructor or an artist to do from the outside, that will fall to staff.
Yes.
For the time being. So we're just taking on this learning pod that we got some funding for from the DeLuca Foundation for a 6-week learning pod until the schools go back in. Staff is coming in early to, check kids in. Our education staff is managing that space. We didn't hire from outside. So we're just adapting the way we work with the goal of keeping us all here.
Yes. You didn't know you were so resilient, did you?
Well, we felt like we were, and I think we have great leadership. Joyce Satterley, our executive director, is, a tremendous administrator, and we have a lot of creative talent in our group. So we've been able to, the curator's been able to take on teaching. Our education people have been able to take on more administrative and so on. So we found that individuals within your organization have talents that you may not have explored fully, and
Right.
Find out what those are, because you're going to need them.
Yes. Well, I applaud you for being so resilient and being able to adapt, and for realizing that clarity right now is really going to help you. So I think that if you employ a donor survey right now, you might be able to ask very specifically, would they support, keeping staff in place? Because staffing, I love the way you said it. Staff is programming. It's like, for those of you who, know the Dan Pallotta movement, everything he's trying to do to debunk what we think of as overhead in our general operations, the things that actually allow us to keep our doors open and serve. We are the overhead, right? Our staff, everybody, we're the overhead. But without it, there's no program. So thank you for your thoughts. I would think that you could address this earned income worry and shortfall in your next campaign, because it sounds like you're doing all the right things, Jeff. So if you have any other further questions or want me to take a look at anything, I'd be happy to do it and just give you any feedback.
Thank you. So appreciate you being available to visit Florida, hosting this, and allowing us to kind of articulate the struggle a little bit and what we're all working through. But thank you. This was very instructive.
Stay strong and stay well.
Thank you.
Thank you for your thoughts. Anybody else? Were there some more hands raised who would like to share?
Yeah, I don't have any more hands raised, so please go ahead and raise your hand if you want me to unmute your microphone. I do have someone who didn't have a microphone who wanted me just to share some information with the group. They don't have a microphone, but we have taken our annual fundraising virtual. This is from Monica Mitri. Our fundraiser includes a performance with the Smithsonian Jazz Masterworks Orchestra, created a video performance that they provided, and we have it offered to our members with a fee. They can also opt in live for a virtual cocktail hour with our executive director and the director of the orchestra to be able to talk to the musicians, something that they wouldn't be able to do in person. They can also opt into purchasing dinner that they can have picked up from the museum to enjoy during the performance. Due to the lack of overhead, we are actually raising more money this year with less viewers and sponsors than we did previously with more attendees and sponsors. So some really creative ideas on virtual events there, I think.
Ah, Monica, that is so cool. I'm thrilled to hear this idea, and very pleased that it has opened up for you opportunities. That's the point of what we're talking about today, is that despite all these hardships and changes and unexpected ways of approaching things, so much is being reimagined, and it's having some benefits that we might not have ever discovered other ways. So again, I think we're just in a great place of trial and error, but we're going to emerge knowing even better what's possible and what works best for us. And again, we might see some of these hybrid things, or we might change direction completely. If this works best for you down the road, how amazing is that, to have less investment of, in an event. Most everything can go to your net fundraising goal, and it's just phenomenal. I love the idea. I want to attend. Send me an invite. That sounds so great.
I have another question. What video formats are organizations using for recording or live streaming events and programs? And this is from Cynthia Hafney.
Hi, Cynthia. Thank you for that question. Other organizations might want to chime in if they're in the process of doing this, but many video companies are in this space right now. I know a few around South Florida, but I think it's more nationally based and inexpensive. So look up Lemon Light, not Limelight, but Lemon Light. And they're one of the more affordable but still very sleek looking video companies out there. I need to make a list maybe of more regional, or maybe that's something FAM, we can do around FAM, is start creating vendors. Many of them might already be affiliates, maybe, Carmen, in this space, who are really working to help our museums right now. But it's just varied. I don't know if I answered that well enough, but look up Lemon Light if you need to hire somebody.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have a question? If you want to raise your hand or type it in, whatever your comfort level is.
And if not now, I encourage you, I'm about to wrap up some stuff and turn it back over to Carmen, but do know that I am intensely interested in what you're feeling, how things are working, so you can email me, and I will continue to help with any of the things you might choose to implement from today. So Carmen, shall I continue on from the top portion?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. Back to here. All right, so again, today was all about opportunity. So many of you I know are doubling down on your value propositions, and you're going to learn how to represent your cultural organization as a cause and relay its meaning in a way that people haven't heard before. But there are even larger thoughts that some of you may be having to contemplate in a scary way, or in a really exhilarating, energizing way. So there are other leadership opportunities that I really encourage you not to wait on. I think that's another really compelling driving force behind us right now, is that when we had to stop, or we were forced to stop a minute and say, I've got to rethink everything, it's like, well, maybe I should have done this before. I wish I had had the occasion, maybe not under these circumstances, but the ability to say, if everything changed, what would I do? You know, if I had the opportunity in front of me to really change course or really execute this idea that staff has had for a while, how would I do it? So definitely, I think this is a time that we don't wait on anymore. So if at all possible, think about certain things. And here's one of them. If you often find yourself referring to other agencies or models that you aspire to, and know that you have the ability to become that yourselves, or aspire to go even beyond that model that you admire and offer it even better and bigger, set your plan now to become it. I mean, why not? This whole thing is about why not? We're limited in so many ways, but other things have never been more available. And this is our chance to present a new idea and run with it, right? See what happens. I want to give you an example of that. I work with an amazing arts organization here in West Palm called Resource Depot, and their whole system is based on earned revenue. They take the products from the community that are no longer in use, they recycle and have them available for reuse, upuse by teachers, the community, etc. They also have an art gallery, art programs, summer junk camp, etc. We've been in a massive campaign trying to elevate their message, get people to understand them as more than just this shopping place, right? They had a 20-year anniversary. They wanted to turn a corner, and they wanted to come out huge about environmentalism and the whole reason that they exist. And so as we're putting together this really fun, interactive kind of playbook of how do you become more eco-conscious, what are the simple things you can do, one of them is, okay, go to a place and have your shampoo bottle filled at the dispensary. You know, you can get household cleaners, all these things, you know, go to this place, get them filled up. And it hit us, it's like, why isn't that us? Why isn't that Resource Depot? You know, why aren't we telling them this is our other earned revenue source that supports our cause, is that you can fill up your shampoo bottle here. So that's just an example of something you may be offering in some ways and not even realizing it. And it's the next step in you creating earned revenue or opening another department of social enterprise that is going to support your museum. Also, if you're putting off long-term growth, mission, or strategy ideas that you believe are essential to who you need to be, like if you have a theory of change, if your strategic plan has you trying to hit an ultimate goal, but it keeps getting put off, you know, because your urgency is in other things, just make the plan. Just start making the steps. Include your donors in that survey process, and they'll support it. One of the articles that you have in the downloads, please get the downloads. One of them is called Fighting the Urgency Bias. And I included it particularly because I am one of the worst possible. Whatever is in front of my face and whatever fire is burning is my most important task. And this article talks about how we can change that mindset and our own psychology to reinforce in us that these long-term goals are really our importance, not the day-to-day, which is just such a big struggle for us, especially right now. So I wanted us to kind of remember that foundation and learn more about urgency bias. If you know, this is a toughie, If you know your program or agency could be stronger and serve better by successfully partnering or even merging with another group or cultural agency, be brave enough to explore it and potentially do it. I know this is on our minds a lot, you know, where we understand, particularly for those of us in areas of concentration where there are a lot of cultural organizations needing funding, you know, we're working with our cultural councils and so forth and local arts agencies for the best support possible. But there are ways or collaborations that might make sense to us now when they didn't before. And it might be time. You may be stronger together, and for the sake of everything that we've been pushed into, your board, which is often, you know, has one of the biggest problems moving forward on these. Everybody might be in a place where we say, you know what, this really is best, and we're going to find a way to work through it, and we're going to find a way to share leadership in this situation. And we all know this from writing those grants, that collaborations and shared dollars and resources accomplish more, and we can gain more financial support from our funders when we're coming together. So those are just some of the really last biggies that I wanted you to consider. Really push ourselves in our field to excel. On the screen right now and in your notes, these people have tons of great survival guides on COVID-19 right now. Again, I tried to pull together a lot of those. I wanted to cast the net, like Carmen said. You all are doing a great job trying to find information, but you are in there trying to survive. So I've tried to pull together some great resources that are easy to read, quick reads, might spark some help for you. Also, these organizations online are really special and I think have said some good things. Do note though that information is changing daily. Even what I've included for you, resources I pulled in April still have good ideas, but all of a sudden aren't even as valid as they once were. Before Carmen says her thank yous, I'm going to say mine. It has been very uplifting and wonderful to be with my community today. So I thank you and applaud you for all the tremendous energy and ideas you're putting forth right now. Please, please, please fill out your survey. It's really important to FAM, to me, that we are able to get feedback and get better, but give you the information you feel like is most helpful to you. So we just want to know that we're able to help. I encourage you to maintain your membership and make good use of the FAM resources. I know they were always so important to me and still are. And just like you at your place, your membership is helping FAM support our professional development opportunities and networking and learning sessions just like this. People sometimes are interested in knowing what my name is about. I'll tell you later, but there it is. And thank you again, Carmen. I appreciate it. I acknowledge you all today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We appreciate you being here. I want to share just a couple things. First of all, as Laura mentioned, I'll be sending out the survey. Please fill that out. I'll also include the notes and a recording of the webinar in that in case you missed anything. I want to make you aware of upcoming programs that we have. You can go to flamuseums.org to see more about these programs and to register. You can also log in and become or like our Facebook page. We have our events listed on our Facebook page. Additionally, we have a Facebook group. So if you're interested, you can join that group, and it's really just museum people talking to other museum people, sharing ideas. It's really just a great networking platform for specifically Florida museums. The next program that we have coming up, the Navigating Reopening, a moderated discussion for small museums, is really going to be a conversation with four smaller museums and with four directors of small museums. So we hope that you'll join us for that. Again, Laura, thank you so much for being here with us today. When I talked about the net, what I was saying was that, we, especially smaller museums, we have to be a jack of all trades, and we have to know enough about a lot of things. And so to have somebody who has the breadth of knowledge kind of reach out and find all those things and share with us the most important items is really important. So we appreciate that. Again, please look out for additional programs in the future. And thank you all so much for attending. Thank you, Laura.
Thank you so much. Stay well.